DINKY-DOO, my heart is a very, very good evening to you. It's just me, Scottie McClue. Welcome, 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 I say. It's 4 minutes past 9 on Saturday evening. So there we are. Lovely to be with you, and a very, very warm welcome. And of course, a very happy new year to every single one of you. Excellent stuff. Lovely to have you with us. And I hope that you've had a very good festive week. I know a lot of you will be out at parties and the chit chat and all that sort of stuff, but you can surely spare a few minutes for McClue so that we can have a catch up on what's what as we move into 2025. My goodness me, 2025. I can't believe it. It passes at such an incredible rate. Fantastic. Let me know if you can hear me and if you can see me. That's very important as well. So can you hear me and can you see me? And you've got the chat there down to, it's on my right-hand side. So if I said to you, DINKY-DOO, can you see that in the chat? So there you are. I've just popped it in this second. And of course, tell 10 to tell 10 to tell 10 to tell 10 that we are live. Hear you and see you. Scottie G, that is fantastic. That's the best news I've had today. Excellent, wonderful stuff. And of course, Numpty Heed will be coming to join us, hopefully, and let us know what's what. Happy 2025, Scottie. I can hear you and see you, sir. DINKY-DOO to you too. Robin, I love to have you with us. The wonderful Murray O'Donnell has given us the thumbs up. Fantastic, Murray. It's always lovely to see you, sir. I feel even more humbled all the time when you choose to join us. And I said to somebody, you know, Murray is the most loyal and fantastic supporter of Scottie McClue. I said, and he's a busy, busy man. I actually asked somebody, I said, why do you think he comes and joins me? He said, well, maybe he just likes listening to Scottie McClue. And I thought that was quite a good answer, listening. And of course, now you have to put up with seeing me. So there we are. Scottie G, and your chat. I miss your radio from back in the day. Do you know, it's very interesting. I've got to share this with you. I was thinking about the radio today, and people say to me, Scottie, no chance of getting back on the radio. Well, there is. And I'll tell you just a little bit about this. But first, let me just share something with you, right? And I think this is really quite important that I do this. All right. So there we go. And there we are. Lovely, lovely. And on to here. Now, I got some analytics today. 6.8 million. Right, have viewed Scottie McClue this year, or maybe it just says December recap, maybe it's this month. 1,300 uploads, 99.1 thousand likes, and 9,000 comments. Now, that is quite incredible. And the most watched video was one of the movies, 563,100, right? 563,100. I tell you. So there you are. Murray says it's better than the guff on the telly. Well, you know, Murray, I've just uploaded a new movie tonight, and it's The Great Mr. Handel from 1942. Now, it needs a certain level of appreciation of the art of cinematography. See what I just did there? To get through it. But I've just been watching it, and that, in fact, that's why there was a slight delay in joining you tonight, because I was just watching the end of The Great Mr. Handel. What a fabulous experience. So there's something for everyone on the YouTube channel. Scottie wouldn't last 2 minutes in the current radio landscape. I'm sorry to say, Mr. McClue. Ryan, there is no current radio landscape that covers talk radio to the level I operate at. So you don't need to be sorry to say that. I take that as a compliment. All I can say is that wokeism is very much on the way out, and straight talking will very much be on the way back. Watch the situation in the United States of America, because in what have we got here, in 16 days' time, President Trump will be inaugurated. So, and then you will see things move forward for the first time in 20 years. As long as McClue keeps the monarchy stuff to a minimum, it's all good, because the royalist PR is discussing. Well, Ryan, you can say what you like about individuals. Well, you can't say what you like. It could get you in a lot of trouble about individuals. But what matters is the crown. Now, people are just, if you are in any way a seeker of independence or a nationalist, or like me, somebody who realizes how well the Scottish economy could do without the ball and chain of Westminster, you know, that's not nationalism. That's just common sense. And when I look at that, the first question they will beat you over the head with is, "What about the crown? I'm a loyalist. What about the crown?" And if you can turn round and say every single Scot is 100% behind the crown will certainly not suffer from Scottish independence. If you can say that with an absolute clear conscience and a spring in your step, then you've passed the test. Because you would notice that the independents lost in 2014. Why did they lose? Because there was a threat to the monarchy. All right, so there you go. So play with the heat, son. Missed the show last week. I was sitting in A&E from 6 p.m. until 5 a.m. Neil O'Connell, what had you done to yourself? Or what had somebody done to you? Tops were here, DINKY-DOO. How lovely to have you with us. Good evening, Scottie and all. You need the constant stream of BAMs on the phone to you. Scottie G, I agree. And the people that tend to call this particular show for an hour are not BAMs. Well, perhaps the odd one. I'm in Cooley, California. I love your movie choices. I was in Scotland in July and loved it. Can't wait for our right leadership here too. Ali, just watch this space. Kenneth Douglas Sr., here's a question, Scottie. What will we get first, an independent Scotland or a united Ireland? Well, Kenny, I spoke to somebody very senior in Ireland, and I said I would like to, if I'm not going to be on the radio for the rest of my life, I would like to spend it in the library, the old library of Trinity College, Dublin. I said, what would my chances be? And they said to me, Scottie, anytime, lift the phone, I'll meet you, and I'll get you involved in the old library at Trinity College. Oh, I can't believe the honors and the privileges that just keep flowing. Yeah, I've had one setback, because I happened to meet a very, very bad man. And that's all. Apart from that, honor and privileges just flow. Now, I don't necessarily ask for them. I mention to the right person. But I couldn't believe this. But they said to me, I said, do you think Ireland will unite? And they said, it's only a matter of time, Scottie. Only a matter of time. Now, that could cover anything if you think about it, because we're talking 1,000 years, we're talking 6 months, I can be BAM adjacent if you like, Scottie. That's for here. I am well aware of your abilities, and BAMology is not your strongest one. You are not necessarily your classic BAM. You're a highly intelligent man, but if we are looking for anybody to be BAMmed up, we may well shout upon you. Ireland is a beautiful country, Scottie. Kenny, I know every blade of grass in it. Yes, I love to go right down to the south, down to Clonakilty, up to the Ring of Kerry. Ah, stop. So beautiful. And of course, up to Killarney, by Killarney's Lakes. Yes, oh, just wonderful. Now, who else have we got here? Scotty, I'm new to your show here in America. Do you know, America is coming and joining us by the minute. 25%, a good, solid 25% of Scottie McClue's viewers are from the United States. I tell you. Here's a question. So, right. Oh, yes, we've done that one. Hello from Tornado Alley down Herries Road, Anglo-Saxon. You'll never get over that when I told you about the tornado in Herries Road. A mini tornado, not much bigger than an ice cream cone, and very similar, whirling towards us along the central reservation bit there, just opposite Hillsborough. So there you are, opposite Hillsborough Football Club, and just running along Herries Road, going into the tune, as we would say. There was a mini tornado. Yes, lawyer says Anglo-Saxon. So there you are. I tell you. So Neil O'Gormley, I think we need you to fess up, unless it's very personal. You don't ever need to explain anything personal on here. I tell you. I'd love you to debate with Piers Morgan, Scotland. Let's make it happen. Neil, I would be happy to debate anything on Scotland. If you watch Nigel Farage talking about politics, the man, whatever you think of his politics, whatever you think of the man, he's just different class. He knows his stuff. Very, very, very few politicians know their stuff. We had one on last week I was listening to, was going on about why do we have bishops in the House of Lords, not realizing just how important the House of Lords is. And they're not just bishops in the House of Lords and archbishops, they are the Lords spiritual as opposed to the Lord's temporal. Have we all got that? I tell you. So there you are. I don't know how much other people, interviewers, actually do know about Scotland. There was somebody very senior in one of the parties was explaining that Westminster subsidises Scotland through the Barnett formula. In other words, they give us a tiny bit of our money back. Now, who else have we got here? Scotty, why are the phones not ringing? Well, have you picked them up and rung the number? Maybe I haven't told the people the number. Good one, Numpty Head. Guys, if you want to come on and discuss anything with me, then it's 0141628 9795. 0141628 9795. If you're from out with Glasgow, or out with Scotland, I should say, or out with the UK, then you would be +44 141 628 9795. That's what you would be ringing there. But do give us a call. And Numpty, the phones don't just ring themselves. You've got to make them ring. Did nobody explain that to you? I tell you. First caller from America gets a free Cadillac from Tupswahey. Yes, I know. I've seen your toy collection. You wouldn't give away your Cadillac. When that was new, it was 8 and 6. Does anybody remember these wonderful toys that you used to get? There was 3 sets, I think. There was Dinky Toys, and there was Corgi Toys. Do you still get them? And there was another one, I don't know if it was a branch of one of them, Models of Yesteryear. And you get all the little toys, and you could have a collection as a child. They were very sought after. And I believe they're probably even more sought after now. So there you go. Dinky-Doo. Corgi Toys. Yes, indeed. Tap 3. Did you have the corgi toys? I got the dinky toys, and they ranged, I think, from about 5 shillings to 7 and 6pence. If you're talking a grey Rolls-Royce Silver Wraith, which was sort of dark grey over, no, light grey over dark grey, because car manufacturers like Rolls-Royce and Bentley did a lot of two-tones. Rover did them in the early days too, in the days of the P4, and you could get a two-tone Rover. I think the P5B was two-tone as well. Matchbox, that's the one. Murray, that's the third one I was thinking. Matchbox did models of yesteryear, but they were slightly smaller in scale to the Dinky and the Corgi. I mean, you could get huge sets. My aunt sent me for my 7th birthday, which wasn't last week, I haven't to hasten to add, and she sent me a full fire engine set. Yes, so there we are, turntable and tender and 2 other tenders. I tell you, dinky toys were made to last. Professor Nupteed, they were indeed. Give us a wee call, tell us which ones you had. And Tops for Hay, we can hear from yourself as well, as and when it suits. So these kind of toys, what else did we have that was around as a toy when we were wee? Who can go back to a spinning top? Or what about a gyroscope? There might be people watching who know what a gird and clique is. Yes, what's a gird and clique? Action Man. Professor Nupteed, I thought that was you. You were actually Action Man with moving eyes. Well, I don't remember the moving eyes. There was a dolly that was very popular with young ladies. It's not politically correct now to assume that a young lady would want to play with dolls and a young gentleman would want to play with toy soldiers. You see? So there could actually be a change there, I tell you. And then there were lead soldiers. Now, I think the problem, they stopped, but I think that was in case a child bit one or nibbled one, because children do have a habit of biting things. Supposed to see what it is. So there we go. The Action Man. No, this little doll could actually cry real tears, and she could wet her nappy, which was extremely popular. And she was called Tiny Tears. Does anyone remember Tiny Tears? Telephone! You're live in Scottish Forum, who's that?
Good morning, mine is Scott, and yeah, stop so here. I can't actually speak German.
No, well, that wasn't bad for German. Do you not hear the gentleman that was on when I asked him to speak German? He was called Gunther, and they went, 9. And I suspect Gunther was maybe from central Scotland.
Well, actually, all these people in the text chat that say they're from America, I don't believe they're from America.
Well, I think I think there are genuine articles. Some of them are, but usually it does bring a raft of "Hello, I'm from Hawaii" and all that, you know.
they just want to say they just want to say no glam, like, oh, I'm from America. No, I'm not. Nah, I'll believe it when I hear one of them.
See, if you're in Scotland, it's very glamorous to come from America. And then when you talk to the Americans genuinely, you say, "How are you, buddy?" And they go, "Oh, it's hard, Scotty, these days. Everyone's finding it very hard in the States." And I think, come on, we need to get back to the American dream. Make America great again. And this is where I'm loving Mr. Trump. I hope Mr. Trump gets 50 years in power.
Well, you notice how all the, I hate using cliches like mainstream media, right? Because it makes me sound like I'm an
Well, but you see, I am actually mainstream media. But when I was in mainstream media, Yes, there were certain rules that had to be followed about content and language and things like that, but there was not even the slightest chance of not being able to speak freely. And I think that's the difference. And I was thinking about this tonight, and I worked for Tupsway, as you well know, the most highly intelligent, wealthy, switched on, successful bosses who trusted me implicitly. Now, that worked an absolute treat for years, because you think about it, the radio station was their prized asset. It was worth millions and millions of pounds. And they left it in my hands for 3 or 4 hours every single night. And I can remember when the broadcast listening figures came out, and we were nudging 250,000 at night, when everybody had said to me, that's the graveyard slot, Scottie. You don't want that. You'll just die. You see? And we got bigger and bigger and bigger. And one of the managers said to me, he said, the chairman wants to meet you. He said, I don't know what you're doing at night, but you're doing something right. Now, I said to him at the time, now you should know what I'm doing at night. But this poor man would be at his work at maybe, I don't know, 7 in the morning. And this was 10 o'clock at night when I was at my brightest, you see, and going on to one, so from that point of view, I don't know what you think of that, but it's then I had to face managements who maybe knew a bit about music, but nothing about talk radio. And they were going, oh, please do be careful. Scott, watch what you say. Now that's actually an insult, isn't it?
It was back when you were in Scotland, and that's when I discovered, I cannot stress to you how little I care for local radio. To this day, you are the only local radio DJ I've ever listened to. But also, if you speak to people that are anybody, I'm coming up for 56, but if you speak to anybody who was around at the time you were in Scotland, I mean, like anybody, everybody listened to you. And you talk to people just now. I was talking to my neighbours just after we get back from the beach the other night. And, that's a whole other stuff.
I need to hear all about that, but just the bits that you can tell me,
Well, let's just say that I didn't get to sleep until 10 o'clock the next morning. But,
wow.
We didn't get back until after 1 o'clock from the beach. But no, I mean, you can talk to anybody who was around in the 90s in Glasgow, and it's like, Scottie McClue, and everybody knows you, and nobody listens to local radio, right? It really was unbelievable.
Well, we brought people who weren't radio listeners, and we did turn, and this is a genuine figure, we turned a £500,000 project into a £28 million success story. And can you imagine that talking to some so-called manager who goes, yeah, I'm not sure about what you do. How mad is that? Can they not read the figures?
But all you have to do is listen to you. One of the things that I genuinely admire about you, and I'm not blowing smoke up your fundament here, but was you would get calls at BAMs. So you get BAM and you deal with them stylishly. Then you get another BAM. Then you would get some poor soul whose son had maybe overdosed the other week there and died. And you would be able to deal with them with sensitivity and care and proper, you would make them feel better. And then the next call would be another BAM and you just deal with them. It's absolutely skillful. It's unbelievable skill.
The funniest one was with a guy on one night saying he was a Spitfire pilot. Now, you're an aircraft man. So I said, were you a Spitfire? Oh, yes, Scottie. I flew with the few. I said, oh, did you? I said, could you talk us through the takeoff for the Spitfire? And he went, well, let's not take up time with that just now, Scottie. I said, no, now. You'll love this. I was very familiar with the takeoff process for the Supermarine Spitfire. So I was happy. I said, "Oh, no, 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 we've got plenty of time." Well, I've got stuff to discuss. I said, "No, we'll discuss all that, but the nation would love to hear how you take off in a Spitfire," right? So then we kept on at this puzzle, and he goes, well, you'd start her up, you know. And I said, "How would you do that?" I said, "I mean, what are we talking? Are we talking, the Griffin, or are we talking the Merlin? You know, which one are we? Would she flame out on us?" Well, I don't know about that. Anyway, so you'd start her up, and then you'd have done all your checks, and you'd just take off. And I said, "Right, what's the last thing you do before you take off?" I would just check everything round about, and then I would just pull the stick back, you know. I said, "Right, well, you've just crashed." And what do you mean? And I said, "You've taken off in course pitch." Now, the Spitfire had a variable pitch propeller, and there was, I think it was a toe button that you kicked in, and it changed the pitch to fine pitch and just gave you a bit of extra, gusto. So that was it, and that was him. I said, "You've just crashed. You don't sound like a very reliable Spitfire pilot to me." And he couldn't get off quick enough.
Yeah, but I mean, but the bravery of Spitfire pilots is well recorded. But one thing that many people don't quite realise is that even when they were in combat, you could only fire the guns. I think it was about 12 seconds.
Yes.
They had virtually no ammunition.
No, and you also couldn't. I mean, I said, why did Dunkirk happen? Why weren't the RAF strafing the German guns? And they said, range, Scotty, range. They only had minutes across the channel.
Of course, yeah. I mean, it's absolutely just unbelievable. But as I say, even if they got a bead on a guy, you fire a burst for like 2 seconds and that's it, and just hope you hit him.
Yeah, because your guns would be red hot, and hope that there wasn't one of his buddies on your tail.
Yeah, it must be absolutely terrifying.
Incredible. I was amazed when I actually saw Spitfire the first time how small they actually are. I know there was many variations. I mean, they were still flying up, I think, till the 1960s. The Egyptian Air Force still had Spitfires, They've
got a replica of one suspended from the ceiling in the Kelvin Grove Museum, and the lines on it are absolutely beautiful. It's more beautiful than any sports car. Yeah. The lines where the wings go back into the fuselage is just absolutely...
They're beautiful. And Mitchell, R.J. Mitchell, the designer, I mean, an incredible man. And he sadly died. He had, I think it was cancer, colon cancer or something like that. And he was just in his 40s. I think he was about 46. But as he was recuperating out in his garden, a Spit flew over and he was able to see it in flight. And I mean, just incredibly hard worker and all that stuff. R.J. Mitchell, Supermarine.
The American talk show guy, Jay Leno, who you'll be very familiar with.
Yes.
He now does a YouTube channel with his own garage, which has got about 250 of the most expensive and exclusive cars in the world. But he's got something built in the 1940s, I think it is, with a Merlin Spitfire engine.
Yes. Well, I can remember, I think it was on Blue Peter when I was a kid, and they'd put a Merlin into a Rolls Royce, and you could only run it on a runway. I mean, it's such a beautiful beast when they start up, but they do flame out. You've got to watch big engines. I mean, big engines can flame out when you're starting them up. I've kind of tinkered with cars, shall we say, usually when there's a specialist around, like my father, because when I take my car to the garage, the first question the mechanic says, "Scotty, what have you touched? And be honest with us."
No, I always have to get why I've turned a real man to do those kind of things. I'm a lover, not a mechanic, right?
But have you noticed, although my tastes, you know, I look at Bentley and Rolls-Royce cars and then I think, I don't like the idea of thinking I'm better than anyone else socially. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, Mel
But I love the engineering.
Mel Brooks, he said to his son's a writer, and his son was interviewed, and Mel Brooks would drive himself to school every day, and they had, I think it was a Toyota, and Mel Brooks said to his son, it's absolutely fine to make a lot of money, but don't rub it in the noses of people that you pass.
I think
so
that's
he drove a Toyota.
Yeah, I think, no, I like reliable cars. I mean, quite simple. I mean, not terribly expensive, and I have absolutely no objection to second hand. But my favorites were things like most of the Rovers, even the P2, 3, 4, you know, the P5B, the P6, and stuff like that. You know, these cars, the Series 3 Jaguars, Daimlers, the V12, all these things, which you can pick up for pennies nowadays. But your problem nowadays is it worth the money? Do you have the money to repair this and to fix it up? You know, so it's not. It's like houses. It's not, well, maybe it is buying them nowadays, but you used to be able to get a big house relatively cheaply. But could you run it? Could you keep warm in it? Could you keep up with the bills, you know?
Yeah, well, that's we live in a traditional Glasgow tenement near Queen's Park. And it's great because if the roof needs fixed, then everybody pays for it.
Everybody has to chip in.
Yeah. And we also run a residents association run by one of my dear neighbour friends, and so we are filthy rich.
Well, I did see it the other way once. It was a flat that had an elderly couple in on the ground floor flat, and the joists going out to the street had rotted with the damp, and the guy was actually able to charge the rest of the tenants to fix it up, you know.
Quite right. It's our little socialist utopia. That's what it is.
I actually love these stairhead meetings. I used to go to them. Well, they were in somebody's flat, but it was interesting. All the ones that had been there for like 40 and 50 years, kind of vying with each other.
Yeah,
you know, and saying things. Look, would you just give us a minute and let us talk?
Well, we've got the best close in Glasgow. It really is. It's everybody's friend. The amount of parties we have out the back is just absolutely absurd, and probably not great for the other closes.
Well, I remember having New Year in a tenement, and my flatmate said, he says, "What about the old lady downstairs? Shall I go and get her?" And I said, "Would she want to come up?" And he went, "Well, I'll go and see." Anyway, the next thing, in comes this elderly, delightful lady, and she was such fun. And we said, "Would you like a dram?" And she said, "Well, I hope so. That's what I came up for." And she was so interesting. And not long after that, she passed away, you know, and it was just a lovely New Year. And this lady was on her own downstairs.
And then you become friends. You don't want to become friends too soon, in case you've misjudged the characters, and then you can't get away from them.
Then you're finished. I know. And the other thing you find is the older ones in the close tend to like to dictate to you how things are going to be. And you think, listen, I've just spent a fortune in this flat and beggared myself. I'm not really needing a list of rules.
Well, we've also got that. If there ever was any trouble, my best neighbour friend is a former. He was a paratrooper with 4 para, and he's a combined martial artist. So we've got we can police the place if we had to.
Well, somebody once said to me, "If you ever have a problem with anybody big, give us a nod because I'll find you somebody bigger."
Well, I'll let you go because we need to get some of these fake Americans on the phone.
Yes, and the genuine ones,
I don't believe there are any. What you get is you get some guy going, hey, yeah, right, pretending, right? We'll see. Oh, and just what very, very finally, Scotty, got a business opportunity for you. We're talking about toys and dolls and all the rest of it, right? Well, there's a gap in the market. Let's make a doll that not only wets itself but poos itself.
Oh, you're the mob. Stop giving away ideas. Love you lots.
This time next year we'll be millionaires.
We'll be selling Miss Pooh.
Right, take care, Scotty.
See you later. What a great character. That's our tips overhead. Now, what have we got here? Dinky Toys will wait till last up to eat. Action Man, yes, we got that one. Chemistry sets, says Auld Lang Syne. Yes, the chemistry set. And we never blew the place up. There was things like bicarbonate of soda in it, sodium chloride, Kerplunk. You're live on Scotty's phone in. Who is that?
It's your humble servant.
What's all this sitting back with your feet up and a dram going, how are the phones no ringing, Scotty?
Well, I was fed up listening to you and the callers for a change.
Listen, everybody might be fed up listening to me, but they still do it.
Aye, but listen, are you still the FLOTI floating about the internet?
FLOTI.
Aye.
I am the first lord of the internet. Yes. So in America, you will see POTUS, POTUS. What does that stand for?
Well, it stands for President of the United States.
Right.
But FLOTI sounds like something you'd find in your juice.
No, FLOTI is the first lord of the internet. Because if you go to Downing Street, on the front door, you will see First Lord of the Treasury. So the term Prime Minister is a courtesy term, usually used by your own party, the Prime Minister. But the ministerial appointment is First Lord of the Treasury. Yes?
Right. Right, I've got that, Scotty. Not that I'm interested.
No, I know you don't need to be interested. You just need to have the knowledge in case you get stuck during the pub quiz.
In case someone who wants to be a millionaire, I don't have to phone you up.
You don't have to phone us, but you can phone us.
You'll be busy on the phone.
You can phone us and go, hi, Scotty. It's up to you, too.
Anyway, Scotty, you're listening to me.
Listen, always listening to you.
Right. Now, if I was to phone in, you know, I couldn't pretend to be German.
Right.
Like Gunther.
Gunther. Well, you don't think... So are you saying Gunther wasn't German, in your opinion?
Yeah.
Nine.
Herr McClue.
Well, all I said to him is you can speak German, and he went, 9.
Well, that's speaking German. Scotty says, no, he can't. You know, if you say to me, can you speak German? I would say, nein, Herr McClue, mein Deutsch ist sehr schlecht.
Wow, you're good. Yes.
Mein Deutsch ist nicht gut.
I would say, nicht Deutsch sprechen. Ich bin ein Ausländer, nicht verstehen.
You know, I had to read the lines 5 times just to get them right.
Just to say that.
Pilot, the answer my question.
Well, no, listen to what I'm saying.
Aye.
Nicht Deutsch sprechen. No
You're
German spoken.
German either.
Yes. Because ich bin ein Ausländer. So what's an Auslander?
An ex-one in Scotland.
An outsider, yes, Scotland, yeah.
Right. Ex-one in Scotland.
Right, come on, Liebchen.
Right.
That's my love.
A couple of stories for you.
Yes.
Can I tell you about the car thief?
The car thief, yes. No names.
Yeah. Well, the car thief tried to steal an empty car one night. Well, he made a big mistake.
Big mistake.
Don't worry, it wasn't a booby trap. We're not going to do that,
mistake.
But I'll tell you what, let's go. I was one of these people that would like to go to something that worked with a screwdriver just to take it apart.
Oh, clever boy, yes.
And I thought, I'm going to take my battery leads off. And you know what, Scotty? Plus the car was a wee bit old. You know the earth battery that goes onto the side of the bonnet?
Ken?
Well, that was a bit frayed. I went and broke it.
Oh,
while I was messing about.
So you broke your earth?
I broke the earthly there. Well, that night, somebody tried to steal the car. They broke in, Scotty. Listen, this is what they done. They broke in, they went and pulled the ignition and all that out. You know, the brackets.
Ken?
The plastic that covers the ignition. All that was snapped off. All bare wires were shown. Wires were cut. But the car wouldn't start. Ken how? Because I broke it the night before.
You had broke it down and they couldn't steal it.
They couldn't steal nothing to each car.
You don't see that so much. Yes, go on.
Well, would that be a lesson in the car thieves?
Yes.
Nobody come and try and steal nothing to each car because I break it before they try and steal it, you see.
You've taught them straight.
Now, Scotty, I think we should put a fit down on this one.
Right.
Now, I think the pop industry has become lawless.
Right.
Do you want to know why?
Yes, no names, no pack drill.
No, well, I just need to say pop stars. You can think of anybody. But anyway, now, see if you were in football, right?
Right.
And you failed a drugs test, you've got a 2-year ban.
Yes.
Now, what would happen if we were to drug test the pop stars? Should we give them a 2-year ban, you know? Stop them from bringing out a #1 hit. Stop them from having concerts for 2 years because they failed the drugs test.
Yeah.
You know,
I'll tell you, let me tell you, Numpty, sorry to interrupt, right? But let me tell you this. I can remember years ago sitting in a meeting and I said, somebody said, why would you not allow that then, Scotty? I said, because it's the rules. And this guy said, he said, but can we not from time to time bend the rules? And I said, you can never, ever, ever bend rules. Rules are either there or they're broken. I said, there's no bending rules. The rules are there for, and there was another guy sitting in the meeting who was a lawyer, and he just lit up. He's banging the desk going, absolutely, absolutely, Scotty. You know, and I said, you know, that's why the rules there. And I've never bent any rules. I may have come up to the line in broadcasting terms, but I've never crossed the line and I've never bent any rules. You know?
Right. Well,
because that's when you're in danger. And it's this thing with drugs. That's what I was going to say to you. The thing with drugs is everyone goes, oh yes, Class A drugs. Oh, into the slammer with them. And then you actually maybe see somebody on the telly swaying about who are quite clearly on a Class A drug.
Yes.
And you think, well, wait a minute. Arrest that man. Call out the guard.
Aye, absolutely. Throw them to the toilet, Scotty. That's what I say.
Yes, well, I don't know about you. Get yourself in a lot of trouble, you know.
Absolutely.
You don't mind if I follow you to the toilet, do you? What?
But Scotty, do you know what else is fascinating about the lawlessness of pop stars? Is, now the manager is supposed to keep everybody in charge, and he does the hiring and firing.
Fair and square.
But these days, Scotty, it's the pop stars who fire their manager. What's going on there?
Well, that's it. You see, it's that would be a very foolish thing to do.
Well, you had that in the past with the boy groups and the girl groups, you know, back in the 90s that were big. They sacked their managers.
Oh dear. So, well, I was lucky. I never had to do that. I had one of the best managers on the planet.
So if you sack your manager, who's going to organise the drug test that might get you banned for 2 years, you know?
And
who's going to install the discipline?
No, wait a minute, hang on. It's not just pop stars. What if I was to mention the word athlete to you? Now, I know that covers you and I, but you know what I mean?
Scotty, athletes get caught.
Athletes get caught, right? Yeah. And what if I was to mention horse racing, and the horses get caught.
Aye, but pop stars are no getting caught, Scotty. That's how they're.
I wonder
They're not
if
being
so. What
tested.
you're saying is we need to make an example of pop stars.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. It's lawlessness.
So
Scotty.
if
I
you
told
said,
to
if
the
you
start,
said,
look,
have you heard
am I
what's
going to
happened?
shut my windows so the neighbours can't hear you
Oh,
shouting at me?
listen, you spoil these neighbours. They're just
No,
jealous
you
because you're
spoil
talking
them
to
with
Scottie
With
McClue.
your phoning. Talking your nonsense, anyway.
Anyway.
Right, you've got 10 minutes left to get more numpty heats on.
No, I've more than 10 minutes because, dare I say it to you without being stabbed in the back, we're a wee bit late starting tonight.
Well, you've just reminded me.
Now, you probably didn't know that because you would be tardy.
Are you going to sit there and let me tell you?
No.
No. I was here. No, listen, Scott. I was here at 9 o'clock sharp.
Right. And I wasn't actually, was I? Because I'd miscalculated the end of the great Mr. Handel on the movies.
Aye. Well, you're really enjoying yourself.
Yes.
I was twiddling my fingers for 5 minutes.
Yes.
thinking I could have been out tonight.
You could be out any night, Numpty Heat.
No, aye, but then
I think you're what they call a bit of a catch.
if McClue's on, then I think I should stay in.
Oh, I think everybody should stay in if McClue's on. There should be no going out.
Let's make a wish. Everybody should stay in when McClue's on. Now on.
Stick your tongue out and say ta-ta.
No, you go and stop talking nonsense.
There's Numpty Heat. Right. Now, what do we got here? Matchbox and Hot Wheels going back to Murray. That was brilliant, the Matchbox. What have we got? Operation was the other game. Kerplunk. We're hearing. There we are. Jay Leno was in Greenock 20 years ago visiting his mother's house. Is that right? Rules are made to be broken, says Gerard. No, Gerard. Technology. The manager is the Star's employee. Gerard, you sound like a bit of a rebel. I'll run the drugs tests. I'll confiscate any I find for research purposes. There we go. It's windy and wet, says Gerard. Scottie was late and bent the rule. No, I didn't bend the rule. I broke the rule. And for that, I am sorry. I apologise unreservedly to the nation. While driving home after gigs, often drove past your Q96 studio when you were on air, and I heard the studio was haunted. Was it? Well, Neil, certainly there were a few strange bumps and bangs going on. I don't know what that was. The bucking bronco, says John Doe. Was that a toy? Sounds a wee bit frightening. I can't tell you. The thing is, youngsters nowadays want stuff that moves and bleeps and all that. I mean, tell me, how many young people would you say received computer games? See what I just did there? So, you know, that's the stuff. Has Christmas changed? Have presents changed? So in my day, you woke up very excitedly on Christmas morning to check if Santa had been. And in your stocking, in our case, it was a big gilt stocking. There was an apple, an orange, a little bag of Scottish tablet, which is a kind of English type fudge, you might call it. There was 2 shillings very often, 10p, which was a substantial amount. There was a doobly-doo. Did anybody else get a doobly-doo? Who knows what a doobly-doo is? You know, let us know. Scottie, I didn't think you were on tonight. I checked at 9 p.m. Amy, I know. My fault. I was watching my latest uploaded movie, which is The Amazing Mr. Handel, right? And it is quite something. Let me just check. Have I told you folks, have you had the recap? So there we go. 6.8 million views. Can you all see that? Right? If you can't see it. So there's the recap. Not sure if that's for the month of the year, but that's for this channel. 6.8 million views, 1,300 uploads, 99,100 likes, and 9,000 comments. And the most popular video, 563,100. So there you go. I tell you, a Bruins annual. Well, yes, Bruins are an Ur Willie. The Beano annual. What about the Blue Peter annual? The Treasure annual. Does anyone remember Look and Learn? Come on, let's cough. Happy New Year, Scottie. Best wishes for 2025. Which Rudyard Kipling novel was adapted into a film starring Michael Caine and Sean Connery? Which Rudyard Kipling novel was adapted into? Robert, you're some man, you. Michael Caine and Sean Connery. So there. So what have we got? You've got Rudyard Kipling novels. Well, you've got The Jungle Book. You've got The Light That Failed. You've got Kim. Was it Kim by any chance? DINKY-DOO, Scottie McClue from Scott. So there you are, Scott and Summer Campbell, DINKY-DOO. DINKY-DOO, guys. The King and I, says Professor Numpty Heed. The King and I. Tremendous. There we are. I tell you. A toilet roll cardboard was my doobly-doo. You're 100% correct, Numpty Heed. You got it out your stocking just to bulk out the stocking. Some dads put in the center cardboard of the toilet roll. And you got it out and you thought, what do I do with this? So you went, doobly-doo. That was all you could do with it. Putting it to your moo. The King and I. The Man Who Would Be King. Murray O'Donnell, you're 100% correct. I've even seen it. The Man Who Would Be King. Is that me cheating, Robert Scrimger? If I give you Murray's answer. The Man Who Would Be King. Amy's got it as well. Tuts Mahay says, I know. And we'll take him at face value. I like the cut of Tuts Mahay's jib. So there we go. My father claimed that all he got in the 1940s for Christmas, brackets, close brackets, was Hoffa Kroon and a sugar mousse. Well, the sugar mousse, I take it wasn't an actual mousse. It was more of a mouse, but a Scottish mouse. So a mousse. So the sugar mousse would be a penny. Hoffa Kroon would be 2 6pence, which would be 12.5p. So your dad did quite well. 12.5p and the sugar mousse. So there we are. So it wasn't the King and I, Numpty Heed. Sorry about that, la. Ahoy, mateys, says Admiral 3R. Admiral 3R, where have you been? I can't believe we've been up for 53 minutes, guys. It feels like seconds. Oh, I also forgot, you also got a tangerine, living the dream. Well, in the 1940s, if it was during the Second World War, a tangerine would be much prized. I mean, my doctor told me I was to have more fruit, so I had a couple of chocolate oranges over the festive period. No, not cheating at all, Scotty. I saw a good Dame Maggie Smith film at Christmas, The Lady in a Van. I think it's The Lady in the Van, is it? Very moving. She was some actress. Was she Scottish? Yes, I think Maggie Smith was half Scottish. Is that right? I would need to check that out. But I think one of her parents was a Scot. But if you ever really want to see Maggie Smith, everything she touches was successful. Everything. But have a look at the prime of Miss Jean Brodie. A little bit controversial. But an incredible movie. And it's on Scottie McClue's Movies. just scroll down. What I've done, guys, is put all the movies into one group. So you'll get them on a playlist. And if you scroll down, so get them on your telly, say to your smart speaker, Scottie McClue talk show. Now, it might bring up another Scottie, but just say it again, Scottie McClue talk show. Yeah, and then you'll see all the movies, and just look for The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie. I think since we put it up, about 328,000 people have had a look at it. Where's the snow, Scotty? Well, not to heed. Be very careful what you wish for, Lala. I don't want you going A over T on the steep slopes of the Canongate. Must watch the J.F. Handel movie. Do, John Doe. Now, John Doe, I'm going to just tip you the wink. It takes a bit of getting into, and obviously it was made in 1942. It's a fairly early colour movie. But see, when you go on and you stick with it, always stick with things. That's been the secret of my success. Murray O'Donnell, you will back me here. You stick like glue to something once you've planned it, and you don't differentiate, you don't let go. It's the Jack Russell type philosophy. Unless you really think, no, hang on a minute, I have made a mistake. This is duff. And then you have to just withdraw, as I had to do through no fault of my own, dare I say. But then again, you could say, well, it was through a fault of yours. If you misjudged another character, I don't know. It's a thought. See, how deep do you go in due diligence? Persistence is the key. Murray, I think so, absolutely. And you'll get a lot of people saying to you, that'll no work. That'll no work. I once said to a guy, it was a top job, and I saw it advertised in the paper, and I did all my application and everything, and I got the job. Anyway, I kept the advert, and I showed it to a friend of mine. I said, what do you think of this job? He went, no, son, no, that's a very senior job, but you'll not get that job, son. No, that'll go to someone else. No, I have to tell you. I said, do you think so? Oh, yes, that's quite a big ask there. I said, okay, what if I told you I've got it? He went, oh, you've got it? Oh, congratulations. Yes, I mean, that'll suit you. People are interesting. And that was a very dear friend of mine, sadly no longer with us. I've got a bit of Scottish film trivia for yous. Amy, what did we say about yous? For you. The plural of you is you. Scottish film trivia. So there we are. What Scottish film did both Ramsay Nisbet couple, Tony Roper and Barbara Rafferty both appear in before Rab C? We love it. So there you go. Tutswahay is asking, was it the one with B.A. Robertson starring? Amy says they didn't appear together, they were in different scenes. I've never seen The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie, Scotty. Was it not set in Edinburgh, an all-girls school? Yes, Marcia Blaine School, and it was set in 1932 in Edinburgh. And it's quite stunning as a piece of work. Maggie Smith is just beyond outstanding. It's an all-star cast. Gordon Jackson's in it. Admiral says, ewes are sheep. Correct, Admiral. Let's get rid of ewes. Let's get the Scots speaking properly. Numpty says, I'm still trying to decide what to have for my Christmas dinner. Well, if it's something that'll keep, see what the date is on the Christmas pudding. Guys, I've got to dash. We're out of time. I love you lots. Thank you for the most wonderful show tonight. Happy New Year. Happy 2025. Stick out your tongue and say ta-ta. Ta-ta. One more time. Ta-ta.